Here we go. All right. Thank you all for joining us today for the 41st episode of the TRU-U podcast. We have the lovely Laura Lee on with us today.
Hi,
Laura,
everyone.
Laura, thank you for hopping on. We appreciate it. And I'm going to read off your little bio and then we'll get right into it.
Sounds good.
So Laura is actually Minnesota born and raised, and she is an evening anchor at ABC 6 News in Rochester, Minnesota. She's also an award-winning and Emmy-nominated reporter for her investigations and special reports. And she's also one of the first Hmong television news anchors in Minnesota and the first in a prime time slot. And she also juggles all this while being a single mom to four amazing kids.
Yeah,
They
busy,
are.
busy.
Wow,
Busy
four
bee.
of them.
Four. Yeah,
What's that
they're
like?
they're pretty remarkable kids. Honestly, I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I didn't have these really just neat, responsible kids. I mean, they're just so good. My teenagers are, a tremendous help. They're both girls, and we're entering our teen years, and so that's a challenge in itself. But um, it's fun because it's funny as a parent, you kind of like you really observe every stage that they grow and go through. But teenage years, I was just anticipating like wild rebellion and all that stuff. And thank God, knock on wood, I don't, I think communication is key. They obviously they witnessed everything with the divorce and all that fun stuff, so they kind of realized there was a shift in our foundation and in our dynamic as a family. And so they knew mom had a lot on their plate, and we realized where we had conversations like, this is our team, like this is us, this is our team. And when mom goes to work or when mom does this, I'm going to need you guys to help our team out. And so having those constant conversations and checking in on the kids, like we have family meetings quite a bit or girls night. Yeah, like sounds serious, but it's really just that open dialogue, on a Sunday night, after a meal, and we're just sitting and talking about, goals for the month, trips that we want to do together, just kind of talking about what we want to do to make sure that our family and our team kind of keeps going and succeeding day by day. And we talk about our failures too. We talk about things that are especially if they're fighting over certain things. And so when we kind of have those open conversations and that dialogue, it kind of keeps us it reminds us what we need to do to kind of, because like you think about anything as a team, you have to keep talking.
Especially as a family.
Absolutely.
How do they how do they relate? Would be a better question to you and your impact in the community and who you are being a voice with the prime time slot here.
Oh,
mom's everywhere. How do they relate to that?
The funny thing is they humble the whole situation, because while I am, well known in the community, my kids I'm just mom to them. And that hat really, comes off when I come home. And I'm just full blown, in my sweats, hair up in a ponytail, and I'm just chasing my son around, forcing veggies down his throat. And I'm like, make sure you eat your veggies. And then the girls, they're kind of going through their teen years. So we're doing a lot of like girl time, mom and daughter time, just so they know that they can, have someone to talk to. And then it's like you have to, as a parent, I remind them, I'm your mom first, but I want to be your friend. And so if there's things that I can do to make you guys, feel comfortable trying out new things or empowering them to try things, I do it with them. I embarrass myself and I do it with them, so they feel, empowered to try something new.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm taken away, like when you say wear different hats, and like I've had this conversation with a lot of different businessmen, athletes, like just significant people, and like putting that down and letting that be when that needs to be, and then being present. Like how is that easy for you? Is there like a method to like wearing the
Madness.
different hats?
The method of madness. There is, I think everyone's dynamic is going to be based on their own family function and how busy their lives are. We are a family of routine. We'd like routine. That kind of keeps us structured and moving along. That doesn't mean we don't get curveballs. We get curveballs all the time as well, and we have to adapt and adjust to that. But I think one of the biggest things for us is, like you said, staying present when you're there. Family meals together, huge for us. I love to cook, and my kids, we grow up in a big Asian family. You eat a lot of yummy dishes, and you also eat a lot of just like not fancy, but just like unique dishes. And so my kids are just, they've acquired all of those flavors and taste buds ever since they were little. And I never wanted them to not want to try something else. So we do a lot of cooking, hands-on cooking together. I'm just like, it's not like, oh, mom just cooks and the kids just sit and wait for dinner. I'm like, get in the kitchen, help mama out, like
That's
chop some
awesome.
veggies. I put them like, the girls, you do, the chopping because you guys can work with knives. So you do that. And the boys, you're helping me roll and prep. And so it's more just like making sure that whatever we do, whether it's at home, at work, in a community event, the moment that you're there, you are there. And then reminding the kids that, when mommy is doing those things, it's not because I'm trying to not pay attention. Obviously, if they call me with an emergency, that takes precedence. But if I'm like, mommy's got this event, it's going to take this many hours, I'm going to be gone for this little bit, I gotta go do this, then they understand that as well. And when I'm home, when I'm home, it's all mommy.
And that's amazing, and like that you're just not willing to let anything else get in the way of that. What led you to being a news anchor? I'm curious. I never asked you that.
That's okay. No, the biggest thing for me was I always wanted to be a writer. I thought I was going to be an author, like writing books, which I still, that's a little, it's tucked in my heart. I probably will publish a book someday. I've been, writing cliff notes and just scratch notes for years. I just haven't put anything together. But
what would the book be on? What would it be on?
Well, it would be probably just like a memoir about my dad and my mom, because I mean they are my two biggest like role models in the world. Their story is just incredible. But I wanted to be an author, and so I wanted to write. And so in high school, I started writing for the high school newspaper, and I just kind of like really found myself in writing. And, seeing your name on a byline was like exciting for me, talking to people. And then, but also having the discipline of knowing you have a 500, you have a space of only 500 words. So you have to find a way to take this really amazing story and like squeeze it down to this little bit. So I really like loved writing. Writing was like my passion. And then when I got to college, some of my professors were like, hey, Laura, why don't you try broadcasting, just because you're friendly, you have a knack for talking to people. And so I started, I picked up a camera, started shooting, and then the editing and shooting. And then I remember interviewing people and seeing, whether their story was sad or whatever, you kind of write to that, that really powerful image of them crying or sharing this really difficult story with you. And then I was like, oh my God, that's pretty incredible too. And, and at that point, when I was in college, there was this shift about realizing that newspapers were kind of slowly, they will always be there, but the industry as a whole, newspaper was struggling a little bit, and we were moving into this internet and digital phase.
Oh.
And so then I went the route of broadcasting and worked behind the scenes. I worked like the lowest jobs up in the Twin Cities, behind the scenes, on the floor. But I also learned some of the most critical and some of the most important skills that I need now as a reporter and anchor. So,
did you see it transforming into what it is today when you first started out?
I honestly, no. I really thought we were taught in college to like, and it's hard to explain to people, but in the television world, there's 3 different like markets, they want to call it: small market, middle market, large market. You might have heard people talk about that. Larger cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, things like that, considered very large TV markets.
Yeah.
Middle markets would be, large cities, kind of like, the Nashville and the Omaha, Nebraskas. Those are the middle markets. Big cities, but just not just not huge metropolitan areas. And then there's small markets, and Rochester is considered a small market. Even though it's growing as fast as it is, it's
Yeah.
still considered in the television world a small market. And I thought originally I was just going to do that path. Small market, middle market, large market. The goal was to hopefully someday go back to Minneapolis. But I learned along the way that good storytelling can happen in any market. Good stories, because people are in every market. You're going to get those amazing stories in every town that you visit, whether it's a large metropolitan area or a tiny little rural community on the border of Iowa and Minnesota, you know? And I realized that in order for me, because it was so important for me to have that role as a mom, I didn't want to sacrifice that. I didn't want to sacrifice not seeing my kids like grow up. And maybe the divorce also shifted how I saw my career. It made me realize I was their point person. I was their, you know, their only person that they can really turn to, and count on. So I couldn't let my job take over that huge responsibility. For me, that was just too big of a sacrifice. And so did I have offers to go to large markets? Yeah. But I just kept thinking, you know what? This community is so great. My kids are thriving in the schools. We love the community. The people are just so kind. And I'm like, I get to do a job that I love. And then I also get to be a full-time mom. So those are two.
That's amazing. Did you see it like even when you were I mean, man, the who you become in the community is what I get excited about. I mean, the news is fun to watch. Yeah, let's keep up on things. Oh, there's Laura, but when I see you out making an impact and showing face, like how does that all occur to you? How does that feel? Like just being out, like what the news anchors led to in the community.
Yeah, well, you're so sweet. I mean, you're just like saying all these kind things. I feel like I'm just literally just a regular citizen. I know people say you have such a huge impact, and that's so kind. I feel like I'm just doing what everyone is doing, but because I have this platform of being on air, I think people think she's just, you know. But there are so many people in this community that do just phenomenal things, and I just love meeting people. So I really like put myself out there because I want to hear people's stories. I want to meet them. I want to know, you know, what inspired them to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so I go out to the community, and I mean, I'm one of those people that at the gas station, I can have a conversation with the person next to me.
That's a gift. That's a gift. That's a gift. Seriously, like I think communicating and being open like that is so beautiful. Like when you can just connect with people, and that's where all the opportunity comes from. It's just opening up yourself, being out there and connecting with people.
I
What would you say?
Oh, sorry.
You go. What do you got?
I was just going to speak to that. I think in a world where, especially maybe during the pandemic, that we really realized that lost connection, where we needed to learn to reconnect. I don't know. I love, and that fills my cup, knowing that I can smile and talk to the guy next to me saying, you know, these oranges don't look so good. And we both can laugh about that at the grocery store. And then all of a sudden I find out he's a veteran, you know, and then I'm talking to him about his service, things like that. That connection, like for me, I that fills my cup. And I know people say that all the time, like, a smile to a stranger in the street goes a long way. It really does. And when you think about those small moments of someone just stopping to say, hey, you know, like, you know, whatever, whether it's a conversation over oranges or the gas prices going up and me and someone's talking over gas prices, that instant little, very brief connection, like can turn your day, which is maybe just a plain routine day, you're just go, to all of a sudden you've made a connection, you've made a spark with somebody, and now you're smiling and you have more pep in your step for the rest of the day. And I think those connections are so important, especially now.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, just restoring connection and being out, or like because the Rochester community means a lot to me too, and I love seeing that you're always out and about, and people like you and Tim, and like I saw the Wear Local stuff. We had Ryan and Pasquale on here, and it's exciting just seeing all this. And now we are coming out of COVID. Minnesota lifted the mask mandate. We learned a lot. I feel like when you're taken away from shit, you learn a lot.
Oh yeah,
Kind of have that self audit, right? Like, what is my life
absolutely.
about? What's up? And now coming out of it, like I get excited because I think a lot of innovations, a lot of like realizations and appreciation for other people came
Yeah.
out of that time. Like, I mean, with the community, what do you see, like, with connecting with people wise? Like, what do you see happening? Is there like, are you excited? Is there anything that's going on? Are things coming back? Or
Oh
what
my
would you
God.
speak on?
I think everyone is so excited to have just the things that we all look forward to in the summer or even during the year come back. And I think all of that goes back to those human connections, those human interactions. So the fairs, county fairs are coming back, concerts are coming back. I mean, there is something to be said about what we've learned during the pandemic. And we've all realized that we are very adaptable people. We can kind of adapt to any situation. My fear, though, is what I don't want to see happen is I don't want to see, and I know it's going to be that way. Some people will thrive on the digital formats. I'm personally a people person, so I really need your face, like, because you read off of their body language, their body energy. You
Yeah,
feed off of that, and sometimes it's missed when it's all digital. And so I hope that companies don't really move in that direction where you lose that human interaction of knocking on someone's door if you're a salesman, and if you're going to the grocery store. I think those are so important. Those steps are so important. And with all of this COVID stuff, a lot of people resorted to, I'm just gonna just have someone deliver my. And I really hope, and if that's something for their health, absolutely do those things. But then you start to lose. I think people get depressed or sad because there is no more human interaction. And
mental health thing. It's a
yeah,
mental health thing. We need
and I
each other. We are designed to be interconnected. That's what we're designed to be.
absolutely, absolutely,
Um, I don't think that we'll ever look. I mean, I think that it's a fear and an insecurity, and people like enjoying the comfort of what they have now with technology. But I think that, it will inspire people to take more action in that space, I would hope, or like for people to have a better understanding of the value of it. Like,
yeah.
I'm an extrovert at heart. I don't have an introverted piece in my body.
I love
I
that.
don't, and I'm like you. I need to be out. Let's
Yeah,
go. And but even for those folks that don't have that, I feel like there's a longing for human connection, even if it's just a little private thing, like
yeah,
just to have that human touch.
absolutely. And I think it's so, like you said, you hit, touched on it right there, is that mental aspect. I think when we think about health, we immediately, just all of us, go to the physical side of things. And when the pandemic happened, yeah, health was one of the driving forces. But underneath that, in those layers of health, you forget that mental health, someone's mental well-being, is just as important. And so, like you said, we are all designed to just have those human interactions, and it's just so important. So I really am excited for everything kind of opening back up. Bars and restaurants, which have suffered tremendously, are now seeing their crowds come back. People are just loving just to get out of their homes, and I do have to say, people are taking advantage of nature, which I totally did. My kids and I totally did. We like threw ourselves into hiking trails and all that fun stuff. And I see my neighbors, tons of neighbors that I would not normally have seen out and about waving, because we're so busy. We're in a country, we all live such busy lives. I would not normally see these neighbors like walking by, waving and walking their dogs. But because of this, now we know who lives in our neighborhoods, and we're all waving at each other, and it's nice to see. So more of that. I hope that stays around, but seeing more faces throughout the year will be nice.
Yeah, yeah. I do believe it'll be back, and there will be that lasting impact on mental. It's a test, really, is what it was. The whole thing was a test on, I feel like, our mental stability and our mental health. It is. It's a big test, and we learn from all that. Like, if
Oh
there's
yeah.
we can unwrap anything God gives us as a gift. What's there? There's a lesson here somewhere.
Oh,
Uh,
always, always.
always a lesson here. Always a lesson. Um, Nature, cool. Where else should we take this thing? So the community is one big thing I wanted to hit on. What do you feel like, um, for you, like with adapting through all the changes and being in your industry, like what what has that adapting been like for you, or like how do you feel like being a mom and being in your situation, like how has all that played out for you?
Well, the news, we were never, when the lockdown happened in the state, we were never part of the group that had to go home. So we were the essential workers that never stopped working. And so the station, our company did everything they could to provide us the safety net. So they brought every department that could function from home and could work from home. They brought every department home. But for the newsroom, all of our operations had to be in-house at the station. So none of us got to work from home. Some of the reporters, they quickly were able to engineer laptops and things like that, so reporters can edit from home. So initially, in those first couple of months with the lockdown, reporters can edit from home. We did everything through Zoom. Everything was digital with interviews, which you can tell you lose a sense of the quality in a story because of the fact that everything's all digital. There's no interaction again. So the story qualities and just the learning and the knowledge of the story, you kind of that gets diminished with everything. But the station did everything they could to kind of keep us safe. So only the news people that were and the operational team and anyone that was part of engineering to get us on air came to work every day. So it was a tricky part for me because I had to make sure that even though I was going to work every day, I had to make sure I was healthy because I was coming home to my kids who were pretty much just isolated and in quarantine. And so I needed to be careful not to expose either direction, expose coworkers to anything or expose my children to anything. So that was a tricky line to kind of balance for a while there. But working in the media, it was a tough couple of months there. I think the media took a beating quite a bit because you have so many people and so many opinions and opposing views. We tried to stay as fair and down the middle as we can. And I think sometimes what happens is, going back to those small, middle, and large markets, community members forget that we are a local TV station, meaning we cover news that just impacts our community. And some of the bigger networks that have very skewed or very purposeful points of views, we get associated with that as a whole umbrella, and then we get targeted, as a local TV station, which was tough.
I feel like it's like a test to your mindset too, just because like reporting on something like a pandemic and being one on the front line, being tested, like that's and like reporting on the fear, and how do you present that without, well, hey guys, it is kind of scary, but don't lose yourself. You're okay. Like
Yeah.
that's got to be a big test. Like
It definitely is a test. It was tough, but I think what you do is you always present just the voices and the facts. And so, and we operate on a tiny little, all these big stories, all these big headlines, and we have a 30-minute newscast, which gets shrunk down to 15 if you include weather and sports and things like that. So we use numbers and data from health officials, and then sound bites and interviews from medical experts and government leaders. These are the people that you elect to speak for you. So we let those voices talk, but then we also go in the community and hear from people who are either for or against certain issues too. But it was a tricky line to walk there for a while, because I think we were being just seen as a large, we sided with one or two networks, and it's like, no, we're just a small local television station. And we want to just cover news that impacts you. We're one of you, we're one of you. We're one of your neighbors.
Unbiased reporting. Here you go. Take it. This is what's going on. Yeah, take it. I'm just feeding you what's going on.
We try our best. Absolutely.
Yeah. What are some of your, like, or how would you speak to people now with where we're at today? And going back to your ability to connect and being in the community, how would you speak to people on just restoring that mental health and being out and enjoying life?
I think the biggest thing to remind everyone is everyone just needs to give um, everyone, them, including themselves, some grace, because I think what we were everyone was so tough on each other because we were so, I think, isolated, lonely, whatever you want to call it, that and now that everyone's coming out of it, everyone is kind of like, I don't know how to interact again. I don't know, everyone's like, you've had to
I
wear face.
forgot.
Yeah, I forgot. Everyone's like, we've worn face masks for so long. Everyone's like, I gotta start smiling again because I had a face mask that covered my face from here down. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm just kind of like, let's just remind each other that, yeah, it was a step back. It taught us some things, but we got to keep moving forward. And the only way to move forward is if we move together, So, having those connections again, talking to, a stranger, saying hi to someone on the street, thanking an officer, thanking a veteran, those things, just those normal kind of interactions, brief interactions in the streets, again, they go such a long way.
Just take that first step.
Mhm.
Just it's okay,
It's
right? It's
okay.
okay.
We're all whatever you're feeling, we're all feeling it too, and just know that we're all there. If you're feeling scared, I'm feeling scared too. We're riding those roller coaster of emotions the same way.
I like how you said the word grace, like give yourself some grace. Like we deserve it. It's okay. I feel like people put a lot of pressure on themselves in
Oh,
general.
absolutely. We're in a world where I think instant gratification and all those things play a factor. And I think we hold ourselves, or we put all this pressure on ourselves, with social media, with all these things that kind of highlight things. But, we all have to remind ourselves, yeah, even in my life, I'm not immune to pain. I'm not immune to heartbreak or grief. Just because I'm on air and in the public eye, you see me in the community smiling and cheering at a parade, that doesn't mean that my family's not hurting from a divorce. That doesn't mean that I don't cry when I lost a family member to COVID-19. I mean, I'm not immune to any of that just because of my title, my job title, my position in the community. I'm not immune to any of that. No one is. And so I think we all just need to remember that even though you see happy moments in someone else's life on social media, that doesn't mean that they're not going through very normal things just like you are. And reminding yourself that it's okay if you have a setback. I have to constantly remind myself, Laura, a setback just means you got to come back, like that's it.
Mhm.
It doesn't, don't let it keep you down there. Just don't let it keep you down there. A setback,
Yeah.
just,
I like how you message or you put that message out about like the smiling photos. Sure, people oftentimes, especially with social media, we use it as an outlet to express our best selves, which isn't a
absolutely.
bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but how are we receiving it? And like the comparison game, I think there's value in like competition or seeing what others are doing and learning from that and bettering yourself. But when it comes to like that, oh, they've got that, I can't have that, or this, like, or look at
Yeah.
all of them, why am I not like that? Like letting
Yeah.
that go. Um,
It's very normal. Ever since we were children, you've always, competition is normal. I think because you always want to see how far you can go, and you always want to see and challenge to see your best self, right? But now with the digital age that we live in, that is now like in the forefront. It's in your face every day. We just have to remind ourselves that, you know what, I might not be where I am or where I want to be just yet, but it's okay. I'm still making progress day by day. And here's what I'm doing that gives me happiness in my day. Here's what still fills my cup. And being,
progress,
yeah,
progress.
yeah, and still cheering on your friend who you're like, damn it, I want what they got too. But at the same time, you're like, good for them. Good for them that
Yeah,
they found that. And I will find that for me too. Like you'll find
right.
your own goals and your own wins. You will.
And
And
can we
someone
not get
else will see
excited
that
about
and they'll be
progress? Can we
inspired.
just get excited about progress, people? Like anything, like I feel like if I'm not this, I can't have this feeling. Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah. No.
No, no. Well, what if what celebrate the little stuff or like,
Abs-
just and what is perfect? Is there really a mountaintop? Is there really, I mean, it doesn't the joy on the journey mean even more than whatever the mountain is that you're going towards?
100%. 100%. A win is a win in my book. A 1 foot forward is a win in my book because that's 1 foot. That's
Yep.
1 foot before, in front of what you were before. You're still one step ahead of where you were before.
Winning is a way of being, right? Winning is a way of being. It's not,
and failing is okay. Failing is absolutely okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Just
failing's such a harsh word.
it is such a harsh word, right?
Like, yeah, it's
It's
like
such a just like it's big, it's heavy, and it's like it doesn't need to be because
failure is
we
the sexiest thing ever. It's the sexiest thing ever. Get out there and fail
failing.
and keep fucking up, fall over, do it. Just do it and
We're
enjoy
like
it
just
because you're gonna get better
fall.
if we let go of the how we're being perceived and the self imagery that we have in our head of what other people think of us. If we let that go and just are okay with failing and are okay with getting better and have fun doing that, that's what I find like that. Like if we just took that step, and then how much better would we be perceived? How much better? The people that get approval don't need it. We're
Yeah,
just living our
exactly.
lives.
We're living our lives. That's the key. And the thing is, this is a good analogy. Like my son has been learning to ride a bike, and I've been terrible because I just haven't had the time to be like, let's do this. And so we've been really kind of doing it. And you think about a child learning to ride a bike, right? They fall, they scrape
Yeah.
their arms, he scraped his arms, their knees, whatever. And you remind yourself when you fell off your bike as a kid, that the whole riding a bike and falling is like an analogy that you should kind of hold for the rest of your life. Falling doesn't mean that you are not going to get back up and ride the bike. Oh, you're going to get your ass back up and ride the bike because
Yeah.
you want to get to the park. You want to go somewhere with those skills. So I reminded him, I'm like, honey, it's okay. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be hard on yourself. And guess what? That determination to get back on the bike, that
Yeah.
is key. That is the key. Period. The fact
It's like
that
how can we fall less or get up quicker? It's
yeah,
not about not falling. It's not about not falling.
oh,
It's
you're
like how
gonna
can we do
fall.
it less and then
Yeah,
get up quick.
yeah,
That's it.
you're gonna fall. No matter what, I guarantee you 100%, you will fall in life. You will fall on a bike, you will fall in life. The point is, and the learning part, and I remind myself, I remind my kids every day, is I will guarantee you will fall. You have to ask yourself, do I stay down or do I get myself back up and get back on that bike? And that is it. That is it. And that can go with anything. Your career moves, finding love. You date, you fall in love. If it doesn't work out, you get back up and you try again. I mean,
Mhm.
that's just how it goes.
And I feel like, the God or the universe or whatever, they didn't design us to just have everything handed. It's like
Oh,
there's lessons and
no.
all this stuff. Like you don't find love without love or the perfect career or the perfect is a bad way of labeling it, but what's what's suitable for you or something that like you didn't expect to become a news anchor, right? And what happened for you and everything
Yeah,
that's going on now, like that's not that what he has in mind for us may not be what we have in mind, and we need to
exactly.
go through a lot to get there.
We
You
do, we
know?
do. And so my kids and I just got back from vacation with my mom and dad, and my dad and my mom my dad's in retirement age and they're both retired now, but they're farmers. And I got to tell you, farmers work harder than anybody else. I mean, they just work so hard. Day in, day out. They wake up at the crack of dawn, they go to bed when the sun sets, and they're constantly still thinking like, I still got work to do. I still got work to do. I'm going to get up tomorrow morning to do this. And one thing that my dad always like tells my sister, my siblings and I, just to kind of remind us, I mean, these successful life coaching messages, he and my mom remind us every day that, for one, again, like I said, I can write a book about their lives because it's amazing. They came here with nothing, absolutely nothing to their name. No, not a single penny. And he was like, and they just remind us every day that your path in your life, it's how you make it, but you gotta give yourself the grace to know that when you fall, he's like, when I came here, I had to be on welfare because I had nothing. He's like, and to people that they might look down upon me and things like that. He's like, but I only needed it like a hand to help me. And now I built my life. I went back to school. He went to college. And so it's one of those things where you have to remind yourself that we were just saying that it's okay to fall. Just it's how you get up and keep moving that is going to show your character and your true grit in life.
Yeah, it's like, how are we relating to it in the first place? Like that, like our perception of it. If we understand that and like that, it is okay, and then we ask, why is it okay? Well, why is it okay? It's okay because I'm not going to become whoever I'm meant to become if I don't.
Yeah, and
I'm
there
not
is
going to get.
no perfect.
I'm guaranteed to not get anywhere else if I don't do that.
Exactly. And you will guarantee that you will not do anything if you stay down. If you stay down, you can guarantee you will not get back on that bike.
And oftentimes we're so much closer than we think to getting things that we
Yes.
want.
Yes.
We just get that little last get up off the ground, that little oomph, that one last oomph. We're right there.
And sometimes that's just trusting yourself to say, like, I got this. I think I could do this. But we don't believe that we can, and we're capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for. So much more.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
And there's no perfect definition of anything that makes you happy. If that makes you happy, then that's your perfect. If that makes you happy, that's your perfect. No one gets to define what your perfect is for you.
Mm-hmm. It's growth. Life is growth. Growth in all areas. What was it? I was just talking to this really badass guy right before us. He said something about growth. I got cheesy notes here. I'm gonna read it. It was something.
No, go for it.
Growth. Um. Jesus, look at me now. I can't even find it. But it's basically like growth is the most natural and fulfilling thing that people can do. And allowing ourselves to just continue to look for growth in different areas is what fulfillment is. And whatever occurs to you as being worthwhile to grow in, whether that's creating a family community or being an impact in Rochester or reporting the news, or me, crazy business, run away to California, come back home.
But you know what?
All of that. It's like that's all growth.
That is all growth. And you know what? The thing is, you inspire, you forget that maybe you're inspiring someone else, someone who's an entrepreneur that is scared to take that leap of faith. And you're proving to them, hey, you know what? That he's running on that of course there's a fear factor, but you know what? He's taking that leap of faith and he's just doing it. Not knowing where it's going to go, but he's at least doing it. And you're inspiring someone else who's potentially wanting to do that, to do it as well.
Just so imagine our ripple, our ripples. Your ripple.
You forget how
Look at how many lives. How many lives do you think you've impacted?
Oh God, I don't know.
Just dropped a rock in the frickin' ocean, and it's just going all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's and we don't see a lot of it. But then, like, if you ever, there'll be those, and I'm sure this has happened to you, where somebody comes up to you and is like, hey, thank you for that message, or thank you for doing this, or whatever, or like,
that feels good.
Yeah. It's like we're saving lives, living our best life.
That's a good way of putting it. No, it's like I say, it feels really good when I get viewer emails or in the I mean, I'm still friends with a lot of families that I do really like impactful stories with, and I love just checking in on them to see how they're doing, and they get to know a part of my life. They get to know, they get to know about my kids and how they're doing. So there is that. You build those relationships that sometimes are lifelong, and so it's always nice to hear from viewers or from people you've made a connection with, and then when they remind you, it feels really good. Yeah, that you in some way, shape, or form, whether it's just your smile or the fact that they see you every night and they look forward to seeing you every night on TV at a certain time, like that's really sweet to know.
Well, you just keep being a beam of light to that community, Laura. That's all I
You're
can
so
ask of you.
sweet. Oh, you're
You
so
just keep
sweet.
doing that. We're coming up to the end of this thing. Normally, I ask where people can find you, but I don't think we need help.
Oh,
So turn
stop.
on the TV. Yeah. Yeah. Pay your bills. You'll find her if you pay your bills.
Oh,
So
you're
we'll
so
get
sweet.
past that hump and go to we always, before I let you off the hook, one last little message for the TRU-U audience. It can be general about anything, whatever you want to leave them with.
Well, I love, first of all, your podcast title, TRU-U, and I think you and I kind of have been talking about that all afternoon. Is to live your life the way you want to live it, and the only person that should matter the most to how you envision your life, to how you judge it, to how you see it, compare it to whatever, is you at the end of the day. And it's important that you are happy in every aspect, physically, mentally, emotionally, because the only way you can keep spreading joy or giving yourself to others is if you're healthy and happy yourself. So don't forget yourself. Don't forget to love yourself.
Amen. We love you for that. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Ethan,
much.
for having me on.
Absolutely. I'll bother you the next time I'm in Rochester, Minnesota then.
Yes, please. I would love. I'm sorry I was on vacation, so I missed you, but I would love to connect with you when you
We're
come.
back all the time now. I can't skip out on Minnesota summers, so
Oh,
we'll be
good.
seeing you soon. So
Good.
we appreciate you hopping on. Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
looking forward to chatting again soon, Laura.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.